How y'all doing? I'm the Watchman, and this right here, I believe, is part four of the Demoniacs. Subtitle: They cried. Well, we'll leave the day out. Cried with a loud voice. Cried with a loud voice. Now, if my eyes look a little red or I look a little sleepy, it's only because I've been at work all night. But we gotta get this in. This is I've been thinking about it all night at work, and the story of the demoniacs is so deep that we have to pick apart. There's so many great points that I want to bring out, and this part right here is probably why I keep saying probably one of the most important. All of them are important. Let's just get right into it. Since it's been a while since I've done a video on the demoniacs, we're gonna recap. We're gonna do a little recap, and I'm gonna just read over the story once again. And it's found in Mark 5. Mark 5. But you're not gonna want to miss this. This, like I said, this right here, this part right here has been on my mind and heart all night, y'all. Anyway, let's get right into it. Mark 5. Verse 1 says, "And they came over into the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes." Now remember, it's Jesus, the disciples, and there are other little ships that followed them over, who are watching everything that's going on. And Jesus has just calmed the sea. He has just calmed the sea, and now they're reaching the Gadarenes. And when verse 2, "And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit." And remember how we showed earlier how Matthew says there was two men possessed with demons, and Mark says there was only one. Now Mark is really Peter. Peter had someone write this book for him. But anyway, as we see, but what really happened was, as we talked about in the past, what really happened was the disciples took off running. And this is the video we did called They Ran. They took off running. That is why one says two, the other says one. Preferably Peter didn't stand around long enough to see the other one took off and was gone. But anyway, and what's sad is here Jesus had just calmed the sea, and they run from some men, whether it was 1, 2, 30, 40, 50. How many times has God done wonderful things in our lives, just done marvelous things in our lives, even just giving us, let's look at, just giving us breath to breathe is a wonder. We don't even tell our heart to beat, 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 beat. Who's telling? We say, oh, your brain is controlling it. Who's telling your brain to tell your heart to beat? I mean, have you really thought about that? We just say, oh, our brain is. My computer doesn't work unless it's plugged into a battery source. Where is my brain plugged in at? My brain is my computer, my switchboard, but where's the juice? Where's the power coming from? So all of these functions, this is a marvel of creation, but we see things like this that boggles our mind. But how many times we leave Jesus when a little issue comes up in our life? And that's what these men, the men that came running out of the tombs, they're just a little issue. Jesus just calmed water. Water isn't even alive, and it listened. And you run from a man, a little issue comes up in your life, and you go to everybody else but God. You listen to everybody else about this little issue but God. It's basically like running and leaving Jesus when he should be the first one we go to. Okay, verse 3. "Who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him." Like I stress right there, I believe that one of the points that God is showing us right here is showing us the characteristics of these men. And this taught me a critical lesson on what I used to do. Don't always a lot of times we get in the habit of just looking for the wrong in others. And mainly because we think that others are only looking at the wrong in us. So we tend to only harp and look on the wrong in others. I'm telling you, beloved, this is what ruins and destroys a lot of relationships with in school, work, especially with marriage and in the home. This is what destroys when you stop seeing the good in someone and you only see the bad. It becomes a habit. It becomes a habit to where you get so critical of that person. You never have anything good to say. You don't see any of the good characteristics in, and when they do something good, I mean, you don't even what what should I say, you don't even speak on it or acknowledge the good characteristics in people. It's like in our society, it's so strange for people to how should I say, pat someone on the back and make this your habit. I'm talking about from work to school, even your children. Don't be afraid to pat them on the back, thinking, oh, I'm spoiling them, or oh, I don't want them to have the big head. No, you do want them to have a big head in love. You want them to have the big head in love, because when you're not uplifting them, the devil is degrading them in their mind. Override what's the other voices that's being whispered in their ear. You know those voices. We've all heard them before. Oh, you ain't nothing. You won't be able to do this. It's up to us to uplift each other. Uplift each other. You know, uplift each other. Focus on the good. I'm telling you, you'll be surprised at the difference it'll make in your home and in your personal relationship if you start focusing. Even if I don't care if your mate has more bad characteristics than good, if you those little good characteristics, if you help your mate, if you start focusing on the good things that they do or the good things in their character and you help them cultivate it, I guarantee after a while the good will outweigh the bad. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Anyway, let's keep going. Verse 5. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs crying and cutting himself with stones. And what this showed me, beloved, is what I often knew in myself when I was out in the world. Had demons running in and out of me like a convenience store. A lot of times when someone's crying for help, they will often a lot of the things that they do in, how should we say, are really reaching out for others to help them. A lot of the bad characteristics or bad habits that they might form is them really reaching out for help. It's really signs of help. Like it says, he was in the mountains cutting himself and crying. He was isolating himself. When a lot of times when people just want to be alone, or the cutting himself and crying, it's like the smoking and the drinking. He's harming himself, but they're really crying out for help. Instead of us, like I just said, being critical and just looking at the negative, try to look beyond. Try to overstand what's going down. Try to overstand. It's enough to understand, but try to overstand. Try to see past what's right there in plain view to really get to the fruit or the root of the problem. The root of the problem. Because like I said, a lot of times people are crying out. They want to see Jesus in somebody. I'll say this again. I'll never forget when Doug Batchelor said, he said, God is invisible. Love is invisible. And light is invisible. But these things are seen clearly when they are reflected off of other people. Beloved, a lot of times people are just looking to see God and love in someone. That's it. A lot of times they're just looking to see Jesus in somebody. They're looking for some real love to be shown to them. Just like these demoniacs. They were looking for Jesus. They and the minute they saw him, what it says, verse 6, but when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him. This is even with the demons inside of him. He immediately ran and worshipped him the minute he saw Jesus. A lot of times people are just waiting to see Jesus. They're just waiting to see Jesus. But now we get to today's lesson. Now we're at today's lesson. Verse 7. And cried with a loud voice. Now, I'm going to let you answer this. I'm going to ask this question. Is this the men talking, or is these the demons talking? Look what's being said. And cried with a loud voice and said, what have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not. Okay, Jesus answers in verse 8. For he said unto him, come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. This was the demons talking. The demons talking. This was the demons talking. And beloved, this is the key to the whole lecture. This is the key to the whole point. The disciples ran away and left Jesus. Jesus is standing here by himself with a legion of demons, and a legion in the army is 6,000 men. Isn't that funny? 6 is the number of incompleteness. That's why the devil uses 6. 666. It's the number of incompleteness. 7 is the number of completeness after the 7-day week. But anyway, and that's legion is 6,000. So you have Jesus, 6,000 demons, and these 2 men standing here. Now the 2 men are comprehending everything that's being said and everything that's being done. Everything. Even though the demons are in control, the men are comprehending everything. Excuse me. The men are comprehending everything. But the men had enough power to run towards Christ. They had enough power to run towards Christ. I bet you they gave their all getting to Jesus. But anyway, so we have Jesus, the 2 men, and 6,000 demons. Now, and remember, the disciples fled. Now, these men are comprehending everything. Everything that the demons are saying, the men are hearing and understanding. Now, this is critical, and this is very crucial, because these men, Jesus is in the Gadarenes. Now, this was the land of Decapolis. This was a Gentile nation. They didn't know of God or of Jesus. They probably heard of God, they probably heard of the God of Israel or the God of the Jews, but they did not know God. See, the Jews of Israel, they knew Jesus, from Jesus walking amongst them, healing them, performing miracles, teaching them day to day, day in, day out, every day. And just from them, being God's chosen people at that time and having the Torah, which was the Old Testament, the 5 books of Moses, and the Old Testament, all the books of the prophets. They had all of this, so they knew Jesus, they knew God. But this Gentile nation, the Gadarenes, Decapolis, these 2 men did not know Jesus or God from dirt Adam. Now this is the whole key, because these 2 men are comprehending everything, and they know that they got pure evil inside of them. They know that they have demons inside of them. That's why when they seen Jesus, it was something in them. I'm getting ahead of myself. They know they got pure wickedness in them. Pure wickedness in them. But remember, verse 6 says, but when he saw Jesus far off, he ran and worshipped him. Beloved, don't be fooled by these movies that they got out where demons be and they be in control and running things and just toss it. That is not reality. That is not reality. A demon can only do to you the power that you give him. A demon can't get past your guardian angel. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. A demon just can't run up and manhandle you if God haven't given him permission. If God says, nah, he can't touch it, don't touch Josh, and your guardian angel standing right there, it can be a legion of demons and they can't lay a hand on you. That angel will have his way with all of those demons. Let's remember, beloved, in Revelation chapter 12, where it says the devil and his angels were cast out of heaven. When the physical came to it, it says Michael and his angels prevailed, and the devil and his angels was cast out of heaven. So when it comes to the physical, the devil and his angels already got whooped. So let's not be fooled by Hollywood and what the devil portrays. Because, beloved, back to the point, back to the issue. Because, beloved, Even the demons are subject to worshiping God. Even though they fail, even though they were cast out, they are still under the authority of God. Oh, please. Even though they're in rebellion, just like mankind, we're the only two species that God created that is in pure rebellion. We are in rebellion, and the angels, the fallen angels, the devil and the demons are in rebellion. But that is why it says in verse 6, but when he saw Jesus far off, he ran and worshipped him. He ran and worshipped him. And they're pleading with Christ. Christ is still king of all. Christ is king of all. Well, right here, he's prince of all. Because after the cross, God gave him his throne. And then Jesus became king of all. King of all. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off the point. Jesus, the demons are sitting here. They fall at the feet of Christ. The men are comprehending this. They're like, what's going on? And they yell out and they cry out with a loud voice, what have I to do with thee, Jesus? Okay, the men are comprehending. They learn his name. Thou Son of the Most High God. Right there, the men had to hear from the demons who Jesus was. The men had to hear from the demons who Jesus was. Beloved, my point is, if the disciples hadn't ran in the first place, the disciples were the ones who were supposed to introduce Jesus to these men. Remember, Jesus gave the disciples power to over demons, to cast out demons. Jesus gave the disciples power to cast out demons. Those two men were supposed to learn about Christ from the disciples and not these demons. But God even spoke through a donkey before. Remember what John the Baptist told the Pharisees, or told the other children of Israel? He said, don't take joy that you the children of Abraham. He said, God will have the rocks cry out if he need be. Beloved, so this garners the question. Who in your life have you ran from, who God wants to reach, but he has to use other means? Just like how the God had to use these demons to introduce Jesus to these two men, who in your life has God had to use other means to reach because you ran, or because you're running? Or you might not even be running, you just might not be saying nothing. Who at work, who at school, who in your personal life should you be introducing Jesus to, but you're fleeing? Or you're standing still and not saying nothing? And they cried with a loud voice. These men are hearing who this is for the very first time from some demons. That's sad that God had to use demons to introduce Jesus to these two men. But he got his work done. His work was done. The men learned of Christ. The men learned of Christ and who he was and who he is. Beloved, this is a serious question. There's so many people. I had to look in my life. There's, who in Joshua's life do I need to be talking or introducing Jesus to, but I'm not? Who? Look around with honest eyes. Beloved, there are people in your life right now today that God wants you to talk to. And he's waiting for you. Now, just as he talked to Balaam through that donkey and that mule, just as he talked to these men through demons, he will use other means and other people. But beloved, it'll be so blessed and so better if he could use you. Let him use you. Let him use you. No matter how old you are. Look with honest eyes. There's somebody in your life that God wants you to introduce Jesus to. And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at the results. Like I said earlier, they could just be waiting to see Jesus in somebody, or to hear a good word about God. They could be thinking the same thing about God that you are. Could be feeling the same way, that they love him. They just don't show him or don't say anything. Why? Because nobody else around them is talking about him. Beloved, make it, become a tool in God's hand and let him use you. Let him use you. Don't be like the disciples in this story and flee and leave Jesus behind with no one to introduce him to other people. Be that vessel, be that tool. And I'm telling you, when you make yourself available to God to be used, let's just say marvelous things happen in everything you do. God will be with you in everything you do. And I'm not saying you instantly gonna be perfect, but when you make yourself available to be used, God is gonna help you extra. He's gonna send you extra help. He's gonna be right there with you extra wise. He's gonna keep his eyes on you, keep his angels close to you, because you're introducing people to Jesus. You're doing his work and you're doing his will. Y'all have a blessed one.